Morning. It's Friday, 5 days a week, right? So won't be on here until Monday. How's your week been so far? This week has, I guess like the other weeks had ups and downs. I worked on not listening to the news so much, and it actually felt good. And then I listened to the news yesterday because I heard something, and then I just got sucked down a hole. But the weird thing was that this morning I started reading an article about, COVID. And I was like, okay. And it was like, it's going to take like a year, blah, da, da, da. And I was like, oh, kind of feeling depressed. And then I turned on the Google Home and listened to the news. And that news was saying that, middle summer, everything, may go back to normal. So lots of information out there and a lot of misinformation, including from the governments, which is weird. Anyway, so, this morning I talked business, I talked personal, marketing, Google, Facebook, and some helpful advice. So, over the last 2 weeks, I've been documenting, how I'm doing and how things are looking in the digital space. And it's pretty interesting. We're seeing a lot of giving and a lot of kindness. We're seeing Facebook and Google, the giants online, stepping up a little bit, right? If you're joining me, the question today is, how's your week been? I'd love to know. But let's talk a little bit about business and supply chain. I know, super interesting. Something I want to really get into, right? We're seeing that supply chains are changing and that remote work is on the rise, right? So different businesses are going up. For instance, Phelan's shared this interesting graph with me about like what's plummeted and what's on the rise. One of the biggest searches was what is Zoom? Holidays are just dead. So it's just really interesting to pay attention to our human behavior online. We've never had a time like this where we can see the jumps and turns that people are taking while they try to navigate this crazy new world, right? So supply chain and what people can get is also going to change how we do business. So as more businesses need to rely on the online space, many of us are going to be very lucky, especially at the upturn. I'm going to talk more about Google pay-per-click advertising and SEO in a little bit, but I'm going to, on my blog, I do share this with the stats, and the articles that I've looked at. So everything is documented, and I do try to back up what I'm saying. Now, that doesn't negate the fact that you should do your own research too, right? But okay, back to it. The economics of what's going on are super interesting because we're seeing how spending is changing, right? More people at grocery stores buying things like making their own bread, new hobbies of puzzles coming up. So toy stores are probably going to do really well. Online sales are increasing, especially for SMBs, small and medium businesses. That's pretty interesting. One of the most interesting things we're actually seeing is since the 90s, Google and Facebook have been stealing ad revenue from, the big wigs, the local media channels, which has been very interesting. And now we're seeing that there is a heightened need for local news. And so that's where, I don't know if you heard, but that's Facebook's giving away like $100 million, and it fits into this other $2 million grant thing. So they've been doing this for a while, but it's all about journalism. So journalism businesses are getting an infusion of money so that they can report better on local things. So this is a really interesting change when, we see, like, for instance, when TV came out, they said radio would die. When radio came out, they said the papers would die. And there's room for everybody. And it's just how that gets created, right? We need the local connection, those local news sources, but we also need, the big news sources. So it's really interesting to see how Facebook and Google are now playing with this and trying to support that local environment. We see this with a lot of local Facebook groups. It's pretty interesting out there. In Google News, what else is there? There's we're getting local. I was talking about this local and national news sources, and it's Google News. Do you use Google News? So if you go over to Google and you type in, like, say, Google News, and then you go over to the tab that says News, and you maybe filter for 24 hours, you can get some of the fastest information out there. Google is pulling together and organizing the information, especially regarding WHO, World Health Organization. It's pretty interesting. I don't know if you play around with Google and the filters, and do you change your filter parameters to search only articles in the last year? Have you ever looked at the last 24 hours? You can do that on YouTube too. It's pretty interesting. I love it. I love what I see. It's a great way to actually grow your audience, actually, because if you say on YouTube, if you go and search and you do the last 24 hours, you can see the new channels producing content and what they're producing, and you can connect with those creators, and it's easier to connect with those people. It's pretty interesting. Okay, Facebook News, the newsroom giants, right? This is the $2 million. They're also launching, which is really funny. I know you guys heard me yesterday, the Couples app. Well, that's old news. The new news is that they've launched quiet mode. So on your phones now, I don't know if you know, but when you get notifications on your phone, sometimes you have to go into the app. Sometimes you have to go into the overall phone to stop those notifications. Well, Facebook's making it easier for us now to quiet the notifications on our phone. Hello, Vari. How you doing today? Are you working today? Are you taking the day off? How was yoga last night? Yes. Okay. So quiet mode. I thought that was really interesting, right? So, and as I said, so my helpful tips, I don't have that many helpful tips this morning besides, enjoy your weekend. But I do want to talk about SEO and PPC. And Vari, you'll relate to this a lot. But SEO and PPC, you will find a lot of companies that maybe don't do both. However, the two really feed off each other. So my helpful advice today is look at them both if you are a business and you are looking to be strategic about your advertising and marketing. If you're working on your SEO and you do a tiny, tiny budget for pay-per-click advertising, for instance, if you're a restaurant and you're now only doing deliveries, you could probably do something really localized for that so you show up at the top of the search results, meanwhile working on the back end on your SEO. The reason they work so well together is because pay-per-click advertising actually gives you search terms that people have actually literally typed into Google, the exact phrasing. And you can take those phrases and, put them into Google Keyword Planner and see what the search volume is and the cost per click, although you probably know the cost per click, right? So and you can use that information in your content. And so they really do play on one another. A lot of the time we use things we've learned in the pay-per-click advertising space and we apply it to the SEO space. It's pretty interesting. And, they just really do feed off one another. And the more real estate you can take up on Google, the more you're going to get noticed, the more you're going to get business. So it is time to enact, especially small businesses, right? Doing local things. Vari, you're taking a wee bit off, but mostly working. I am working as well, but mostly fun stuff, actually, like tidying up the website, blogging, creating a video strategy. Super fun, right? It's pretty interesting what's going on out there. I'm really enjoying the documenting, especially when I can look back and see like all the changes and, how we go from being really overwhelmed to it being the new normal and slightly becoming desensitized to information. And there's this really big up and down right now. We're all facing the same things. I actually saw a post by Aster this week where no time in the world has everyone in the world experienced the same thing until now. Or I shouldn't say no time, because in the past, we just didn't have the communication. Now we have the communication to support each other, learn from each other, and grow. When science changed and we made such headway was when people started collaborating on the information instead of everybody keeping it really separate. So as we move more into this, I am seeing, and I wonder what are you thinking? What are you seeing? I'm seeing more community stuff, more people supporting one another on a smaller basis, right? And deeper relationships happening. So that's what I'm starting to see. I'd love to know what you're starting to see. And that's it for this morning. I will see you Monday morning around 9 a.m. in between 9:01 and 9:05, depending on how technology is working. If I don't talk to you today at any other point, I hope you have a wonderful day and a relaxing, joyful weekend where you get to smell some fresh air and see some beautiful flowers. Okay, have a great day. And enjoy today. I hope you do. Bye.